Hello and welcome to season 2 of Fool of a Took podcast, the only live in-person 4-person podcast that's reading the Two Towers chapter by chapter starting now.
Yes. Very specific.
Guys, I fucking missed y'all.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit. We're here. We're back for the Two Towers. We did season 1. We did the Fellowship of the Ring. That was a mighty journey. 22 weeks of arduous reading, one chapter a week. It was a lot for me.
Wow.
22 weeks of the best book of your life.
I loved it. It was great. I had a good time. The staff that produces the podcast got a little overwhelmed.
AKA us. Sorry, AKA mostly Chris.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. I loved it. Hence why we're back for season 2. I just want to say that for this book, The Two Towers, I have decided to not read a counterfeit book. I have purchased an actual copy.
A beautiful copy.
Beautiful artwork of it
pretty.
all. It's very adult.
It's fucking rad.
Despite the fact that my wife says it's from the
Young adult book section.
young adult section.
In the bookstore, it's classified as that. But
It's the same book.
I understand why. It's way more interesting artwork, and they're trying to
It is
allure you in.
beautiful artwork.
It's really cool.
The artwork in that is so much cooler than the artwork up in that one. I love that one, but that's all stuff that is like this is young adult. That is like, I have a passion for sailing ships and I've picked my favorite war old.
It's just new artwork. I don't know why it makes me a teenager, but that's fine. I think it's pretty cool looking. Courtesy of Barnes and Noble.
Oh my God.
That's how it's pronounced. Now, I don't know about you guys, but since we're starting season 2, it's a new world. We're in a new book. I noticed that we now have a new set.
A little bit.
It's changed.
So, Chris, I got you a present. But it's really a present for me. Because you said so many times I really don't look at a map. I've never seen a map. I can't read a map. I don't want to read a map.
Didn't have maps in it.
Well, yeah, that's because it was from Temu and it was written by George R.R. Tolkien. But
We have a map.
behold,
Our
a map.
set has a map.
This gift does come with a catch.
Okay.
It's not cursed, but we are going to do some map review.
Oh, God, it's like school all over
It's
again.
my favorite thing.
School?
Maps.
Oh, thank God.
I'm not sure which is worse.
We'll just let that percolate for a little bit and we'll get to the map eventually.
I can't wait. Are you guys ready to kick off the Two Towers?
I suppose.
Let's kick off season 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Instead of our regularly scheduled chapter recap, we're going to recap the entire first book, Fellowship
God.
of the Ring.
Yeah.
One sentence at a time. Right?
What do you mean one sentence?
Our homework was to write a 12-word summary
Or
of
less.
every chapter or less. And we're going to go ahead and read them out.
Oh God, here we go.
I don't know where this came
was
from.
so much harder than I thought it would be. And yes, I was the devious mind behind this. I was like, we should each do one sentence, 12 words or less. It is so hard.
It was really hard. It took me 2 hours.
I'm sorry,
So
guys.
12 words or less.
Yes.
Yes, even the Council of Elrond. Oh my God.
Yeah. I got drunk and did mine in the bathtub.
Classic.
Yep, some of these go on vibes rather than plot.
I am fine with it. I think, to be fair, because some of mine are very good and some of mine are very not good, I'd like to utilize the grade school test grading technique where you take your paper, you pass it to the left. That way nobody's ever ashamed when theirs gets read and it's terrible. and you don't know which one's mine.
Okay.
Because I had to re-listen to the intros of every single podcast we put out to remember what happened in any of these episodes.
That's fair. It's a lot.
It is. So I'm going to kick this off. We're going to pass this, my friend, to you.
None of us have an extra hand.
Oh, no.
All right. Here we
It's already
go.
been a challenge.
This is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien in 264 words. Let's
Ooh.
go.
All right. Chapter 1, A Long Expected Party. Bilbo's birthday bash begets briefly bullshit before Baggins bravely bolts.
All right, pass them.
Chapter 2, The Shadow of the Past. Frodo gets weird. Gandalf tells an endless story about a ring. Sam eavesdrops.
Nice.
That's a good one.
That's really good.
Chapter 3. 3 is company. Bag End's bought. Gandalf's gone. Frodo's fucked. What's a Nazgul?
That's so good.
Chapter 4, a shortcut to mushrooms. Frodo cuts through the woods to his new house, attracts attention, meets puppies.
Aw. Oh.
Chapter 5, a conspiracy unmasked. Some friends take a bath, eat mushrooms, and betray Frodo's trust.
Funny to hear our takes on these.
Chapter 6, The Old Forest. Tiny idiots underestimate a dangerous situation, get lost, and are saved by an immortal cartoon character.
That's perfect.
I like that one.
Chapter 7, in the house of Tom Bombadil. A hairy singing man shows the hobbits a good time for free.
Chapter 8, Fog on the Barrow Downs. They reach the Barrow Downs, descend into danger, and Tom Bombadil saves them again.
Chapter 9, at the sign of the prancing pony. Hobbits reach civilization, meet a suspicious hobo, poor decisions abound.
That's true.
True.
Chapter 10, Strider. Suspicious hobo knows too much. Undelivered letter changes everything. Black riders are here.
Chapter 11, a knife in the dark. Fighting at Weathertop whether you like it or not. Frodo gets got.
I love it.
Chapter 12, Flight to the Ford. It's 106 miles to Rivendell. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses.
I call a word count on that one.
Yeah, what's the word count on that one?
I think it's like 16.
Oh my God. Am I the only one that follow the rules?
No,
You made me.
It's just a Blues Brothers quote.
I know.
It is a really good one. Chapter 1, Many Meetings. Rivendell is rad. Gandalf and Bilbo are back. Frodo is all adventured out. And I feel like I had to say that like in sync. Or Backstreet Boys, we're back.
We're back. Chapter 2, the Council of Elrond. Elrond already fixed this once. Plan B, YOLO followed by yeet.
That's so good. That's so
I don't even know what that means.
Followed by
Yeet the ring into the volcano.
Yeet, skirt.
God, that's a weird inside joke that only you guys get.
No, it's a famous song.
Yeet is pretty.
Also, yeah, yeet is just to throw something.
Yeah.
That's just young kid speak.
From like 2010.
I don't
Yeah.
know about that one.
That's which is 15
You
years
nerd.
ago.
Old man.
Old nerds.
Kid grandpa.
Chapter 3, the ring goes south. The gang does a Donner party. Ends poorly. New plan. Gimli's haunted house.
Oh my god.
Chapter 4, A Journey in the Dark. Farewell, Bill the Pony. Everyone else spends 72 hours in horrifying darkness.
Chapter 5, the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. Pippin's poor choices cause Gandalf to be unalived by a Balrog and an OSHA violation.
Chapter 6, Lothlorien. As 9 becomes 8, the timeless woods of Lothlorien challenges them further.
Chapter 7, The Mirror of Galadriel. Galadriel shows Frodo and Sam her mirror. Sorry. And passes her own test.
Go straight to jail.
Oh, God. Pat, that really was the vein of that.
For whatever reason, these lend themselves well.
Chapter 8, Farewell to Lorien. Everyone gets presents. Galadriel is sad. The party leaves by boat.
Chapter 9, the Great River. Boromir gets weird. Logs don't have eyes. The river isn't safe.
I love that one. Chapter 10, The Breaking of the Fellowship. The ring calls to one above others, causing an irreparable internal rift.
We did
We did it!
And that was basically the Fellowship of the Ring.
Right.
Also, it was really cool to see what each person like identified or really like felt like that was the chapter. It was cool. You guys did a great job.
You did too.
I mean, this is cool, but did you know there's a 22-hour podcast about this?
There's a little more detail in the podcast.
So now that we're moving on to the Two Towers,
Okay.
we're done with that. I think it's time we begin the Two Towers.
No, it's map time.
Oh, God.
Yes. Class is in session.
All right, fine. Let's go.
All right. Okay, so Chris, I promised you a map review. For the people who are listening to the audio version only, I bought like a 3-foot by 2-foot map of Middle Earth. It's fucking rad. You'll love it, trust me. But
Check out the YouTube.
yeah, we start over here in the west in Hobbiton, and then we move eastward into Tookland to Buckleberry Ferry, the Brandywine Bridge, and then the Old Forest here. Then we have Bree, and then we jump on
Crossroads.
Yes, at the crossroads at Bree. And then we have the East-West Road and Weathertop. A bunch of bad shit, a bunch of dumb
hills.
stuff. And then they just continue going east till they hit the Mythothel. The last bridge, the Troll Shawls, which were those woods. Then we get to the ford, the flight at the ford over the Loudwater.
Ford.
Then Rivendell here, the last homely home before the mountains. And then they come all the way the fuck down here to Moria.
Moria Gate.
Yes. So then they come all the way fuck down here. They take a little shortcut. They come through to Dimril Dale. Then they follow the Celebrant to the Nimrodel to the Lorien. Then they spend a month doing no one knows what. Except again, Gimli comes out with a hair collection. Then they take boats to the Anduin, all the way down this way. Then they pass through the North Underdeep and the South Undeep, and we don't really talk about that so much. But over here we have the Brownlands east,
Oh, I remember that.
and then west we have the Fanghorn.
Right.
And then we come all the way the fuck down to Emyn Muil. Remember all the hills? They talk Emyn Muil this, Emyn Muil that. Awful brown country. Right. And then we have the Falls of Rhoros just south of that. This is where we are now. They've come like 3/4 of the way across the planet. So when you put this in a picture and they say like, oh, this is it. This is the last phase of the quest. You're like, man, we are 1 book in out of 3. What are you talking about?
Yeah, really.
Well, they mean just in a distanced traveled kind of way, because they are literally a hop and a skip from everything that's fucking evil. They are essentially on evil's
They're
doorstep.
basically there.
Yes. All right, so we did the map thing. Thank you. But now let's actually dive into the Two Towers.
Oh my gosh. The next book.
So this is chapter 1 of book 3, part 2, The Two Towers.
That's confusing.
Fucking cool. Right, welcome to it. But at least it's part 2, 2 Towers, and not part 3, 2 Towers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, take what you can get out
Book
of this.
3.
There's like a part 2, 2 towers. Like,
Right.
It's like a stutter. Part 2, 2 towers.
But you know what they don't do in the book is they don't start the page numbers over again.
Correct.
What do you mean?
So
My book starts on page 400.
What?
Yeah.
Same.
does yours?
I didn't even look at that.
Well, he has different text. His font is larger, so he's at like 500.
Mine starts on page 512.
There it is. Yeah. Yeah, right? Like don't you feel like you've already accomplished something?
Your page starts on what?
It's
400.
400-ish.
So I have an extra
403.
100 pages of content.
You have larger font
I have the
girl.
director's cut.
because you have the young adult version.
Mine starts on 404. So just something for everybody who's following along. The other episode that we released today was a viewing of The Fellowship of the Ring. And the reason we waited to do that until we read chapter 1 is because the end of the movie, The Fellowship of the Ring, incorporates chapter 1 of The Two Towers. And there's some significant spoilers if you're looking to follow along
Yeah.
and you watch the movie first.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah.
So anyway, make sure that if you are doing the watch along episode, which is also released today, that if you don't want spoilers, just listen to this episode first or read the first chapter on your own. And then you can watch the movie episode the way that we did it.
The way God intended.
The way
The way Jurt intended.
So All right. Anyway, to get into the chapter, the departure of Boromir is kind of sad and fucked up. But it starts off immediately where we left off in the Fellowship. It's literally Aragorn running up the hill, tracking Frodo while Sam is like somewhere behind him. And Aragorn is going to Amon Hen, the throne of seeing, the seat of seeing, that old magic seat that Frodo used to look at the world being shitty. And Aragorn thinks, well, I too will go and sit in this seat and maybe I will see something and maybe I will find Frodo. And he sits in this like enchanted stone chair, like an artifact of Gondor. And he sits in the throne on the top of the hill of seeing and sees nothing. He looks all the way around. He doesn't really see anything useful except a big, awful looking bird doing circles and kind of descending somewhere. They don't follow up on that. It's not
Fucking
important.
birds.
But what happens is that while on the top of the hill of seeing, Aragorn hears something. He hears orcs and yelling and fighting. And then he hears Boromir's horn and he just, okay, now it's time. It's party time. We got knife problems. So he whips out his sword and he just runs into the brush screaming, Elendil, Elendil, Elendil. It's, okay, that's one way to do it.
Ellen DeGeneres.
He's just shouting his ancestor's name. It's even weirder.
Grandpa.
But you'd be like, Josephine, and then going into battle.
He didn't have a good war cry.
No.
No,
The
not
orcs were
really.
like, who's Elendil?
What's an Elendil?
Does he think that we're Elendil?
Are you,
Is he yelling at us?
No, we're orcs.
is that a slur?
There's no Elendil. Are you Elendil?
I mean, if it confuses them enough, then it worked.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, he's got a sword. Everything kind of goes quiet, and he doesn't find orcs, but what he does find is Boromir having a nap under a tree. But when he gets closer, it's not a nap. Boromir is stuck full of arrows, and Boromir is dying. He's in his last moments. And Boromir and Aragorn have this quick exchange because Boromir is imminently going to join his ancestors. Aragorn and Boromir have this brief exchange because, again, Boromir's actively dying. He's actively shuffling off his mortal coil. He does not really get in a boat and go west. He just has a nap under a tree. But one of the things that he cops to is he confesses that he confronted Frodo and that he tried to take the ring and he has failed. Aragorn, I have failed my people. Go to Minas Tirith. Save my people. And Aragorn tells him, like, no, you have not failed. You have conquered. You have done things no other person could do. But seriously, where's Frodo? Boromir can't tell him because Boromir has breathed his last. Boromir dies. So from this conversation, all Aragorn really knows is that, one, the orcs took the halflings. Two, Boromir is dead. And he's laid this burden on Aragorn. And he breaks down and he's weeping. And that's when Legolas and Gimli come out of the woods with knives. Well, Legolas has his knife. Gimli's always got his axe. But they're like, what's all this? And they immediately clock that Boromir is dead. And they are confounded. And they're like, what the fuck happened? Instead of running through the woods killing things, we should have been here killing things.
Yeah. Like teaches them a pretty immediate lesson.
Yeah. Don't split the party.
Yeah. We had our first like real fight
Yeah.
and everybody ran off and did their own thing and one of us died.
They scattered immediately.
So
Yeah. And Gimli hones in on the problem and says, okay, but where's Frodo? And Aragorn responds with, I don't fucking know.
that's a
Like a true man.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, what do we do next? And shut up, I'm thinking. And Legolas points out that, like, no matter what they do, they can't just leave Boromir laying out. They have to give him a burial. And there's no time to dig a grave. There's no time to raise a mound of stones over him like a cairn. There's no time to really do anything. And then they decide that they're going to put him in a boat and pile him up with war trophies, all the weapons of all the orcs he's killed. And then they're just going to send him down the Anduin back to Gondor, over the falls of Rhoros and eventually into the sea. That's the plan. They set about doing it, and they find a pair of daggers, the swords that Merry and Pippin had been carrying with them, that the orcs left behind because they recognized that this was a work of like Western magic. This is anti-orc shit. We don't want this. We can't use this. Leave it in the garbage. But what they also notice is that some of the orcs are a little strange. Like they're taller, they're man-sized. They have like really big limbs and like huge hands, and their gear is different. Instead of scimitars, like the curved sword that orcs normally use, they're using like a broad-bladed short sword. So it's very different. Their bows are different. Their bows are bigger. Their arrows are like more what would be in a line with like what Legolas would use. And furthermore, Aragorn realizes that these are not orcs from Mordor, not just from Mordor. They're from the Misty Mountains, from the north, from a variety of places. They're from wherever the fuck these other weird ones are from, because they have on their helmets, they have a white hand on a black field, and they have an S like carved into the front of their helmets. And Gimli's like, well, S is for Sauron, asshole. Duh. And Aragorn and Legolas both shut him down, and they're like, one, the symbol of Mordor is the red eye. Two, Sauron does not permit his name to be spoken by his underlings, does not permit his name to be written. Like, this is like old name magic shit. But also, Sauron does not use elf runes in his writing. So it would not be that like elf rune S. It would be something different if it was anything. So they all kind of shrug their shoulders and go, just one more fucking mystery for a fucked up day. What can you do?
Riddles.
Yeah, it's
Riddles
just a riddle.
abound.
More riddles. Well, what's next? And Aragorn's like, I don't fucking know. I guess we have to, we have to hope that we make the right choice after this and figure this out. And Aragorn's like, well, the real riddle here is going to be figuring out what the right course of action is after this. And Gimli's just like, maybe there is no right choice here. And with that, they set about the business of seeing Boromir off, of burying him at sea, kind of. And they go back to the camp and they look around and they go, well, another fucking riddle for another fucked up day. Why are there only 2 boats? Jesus God. Okay, well, let's put Boromir in one boat and we'll get in the other boat. We'll tow him out into the river and let the current take him. And that's what they do. And as Boromir is lying dead in this boat, the heir of the Lord of the Tower of Guard is drifting back to Gondor. At least they say like there won't be any carrion or any foul thing to desecrate his corpse. And they watch the boat go downstream. And they sort of sing an impromptu song about the north wind, the west wind, and the south wind. They do not mention the east wind. It's this sort of like funeral song. And then Boromir's gone and he goes over the walls of Rhoros, and the roaring does not stop for Boromir's passing. The world continues. And so they go back to the camp. Again, it was Gimli going, well, what now? And once again, Aragorn responds with, shut up, I'm thinking. And they look around and they realize that in addition to one boat being gone, a couple of packs are gone. And the biggest, heaviest pack is definitely Sam's, and that's gone. And they figure Sam must have known that's what Frodo was going to do, which we know is true, and that Sam met him at the camp and refused to be left behind, and then they both left. And Legolas is looking around going, were there orcs here? Like, maybe he was chased by orcs. And Aragorn says, no, he was not chased by orcs, and he does not mention Boromir's confrontation at all. He lets that stay dead, stay buried. But they're trying to figure out what to do now, because one boat is missing, 2 packs are missing. They still have a boat, and they have to make a choice, following Frodo and Sam across the river or going after Merry and Pippin, because at this point now they know where the hobbits are relative to each other. But the decision that Aragorn comes to is that the Fellowship, the company, has played its part. They got Frodo this far, and Frodo has decided to go it alone. And Gimli and Legolas are like, why would he do that? And Aragorn rightly knows, like, it was an act of bravery. And because he did not want to drag anyone else with him on a hopeless endeavor. And even though Aragorn wanted to guide Frodo if he could, Frodo is out of his hands now. He's somewhere in the wilderness on the east side of the Anduin, making his way. But he cannot abandon Merry and Pippin in captivity to whatever torture and torment that the orcs are going to put them through. So they resolve, the three of them, to hunt down these orcs and to free their friends. And they take off through the woods. And Aragorn is transformed because now he knows what he's doing. Now he has purpose. Now he is tireless and he just runs like a deer. And Legolas is probably skipping along next to him, having a jolly time. And Gimli's probably huffing and puffing about a quarter of a mile back.
Yeah.
But he'll go forever.
But he will
Yeah.
go for goddamn ever. And then as they rise up over these rocky hills, as they go west, tracking these orcs, they're silhouetted by the red setting sun. The sun goes down, and they become gray shadows in a stony land. And that's how the chapter ends.
I feel like there are a tremendous amount of things to talk about, and at the same time, not a lot of things to talk about.
It was a short chapter.
It's a short chapter. How many pages was it?
Like
It was
7.
Yeah, it was short, quick read. It was a half-hour read for us. Really
I
quick.
appreciated that.
I was like lamenting so many things in my mind. It was like a very emotional chapter. So I think a lot of this is really just processing. I feel like I connected with the fellowship. I was processing,
It was a very emotional chapter.
grieving the loss of somebody I did not particularly enjoy, which was a weird emotional place to be in because we were 9, we became 8, and we are now 7.
Lucky 7.
Yeah.
Hey.
And it would be almost irresponsible to not take a second in this journey reading The Lord of the Rings to acknowledge the loss, to grieve each person that leaves us. So I felt a little weird about that. But luckily I came up with a bunch of other shit I want to talk about.
Excellent. Did you read the synopsis?
No. Actually, I was going to, but we had just finished. It's so funny because we did our sentences first.
Yeah.
And we had just finished the sentences, did back-to-back sentences to recap Fellowship and then right into the chapter. And as soon as we were like, "Whew, done, we finished the sentences. We recapped the Fellowship of the Ring. And then I opened it and it was like, recapping the Fellowship of the Ring. And I was like, God damn it. I just flipped the page over and I didn't even look at it.
I read the synopsis because the book opens with like, okay, this is book 2 of 3. Here's the synopsis of the previous book. And so I was kind of skimming it and I go to the end and I was like, that did not happen in book 1. So the synopsis, it's like the synopsis of the movie.
Do you
Because
think
it
that that's
spoils chapter 1.
Do you think that that's where he got it from?
I don't know.
God damn
It's
it.
fucked up. Because it says
Peter
first-
Jackson and Catherine Zeta-Jones?
the first part ended with the fall of
not Catherine
Boromir to the
Zeta-Jones.
lore of the ring. Okay, sure. With the escape and disappearance of Frodo and his servant Samwise. Yeah, okay. And the scattering of the remainder of the Fellowship by a sudden attack of orc soldiers, some in the service of the Dark Lord of Mordor, some of the traitor Saruman of Isengard. What?
Yeah.
That did not happen in the
So-
previous
RJ said
book.
the same thing to me.
So
What
I
the
said the
actual
last
fuck?
paragraph is actually a spoiler for this chapter. I guess he forgot what he wrote. But I think the fall of Boromir is more the fact that he like fell to the allure of the ring.
That's fine. I can I
Not the
can accept
literal
that.
fall.
Yeah, I can accept that.
I accepted that, but I feel like the last paragraph does spoil.
That was not in the last book. That shouldn't have been in the synopsis.
It's fucked up that the synopsis in the beginning of book 2 summarizes the movie about book 1.
Yeah, and spoils chapter 1 of book 2.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Well, luckily, RJ let me know that there were spoilers and I didn't read it.
So another interesting thing about this chapter, though, is that the Fellowship is broken, right? Even Aragorn says in the narrative that the company has run its course. It's served its purpose. Something that I found really indicative of that whole pivot is the fact that this is the first chapter without Frodo in it.
What?
Where's Frodo in chapter 1? He has no lines. He's gone.
Interesting.
He's gone.
I didn't even pick up on
It's
that.
fully from Aragorn's point of view.
Yeah.
Snap, man.
Yeah, dude. Welcome to the new book.
Well, shit.
New book. Who
No
the fuck is
Frodo.
that?
New book, new character, new me.
Book who dis?
YOLO.
I have to say that's part of the reason I love Two Towers. It's my favorite book of the trilogy from my last time I read it. And part of that is the language. It's so much deeper. I mean, I feel like the first book is also a masterpiece. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like this, he really gets to take his time. Like, there's so many sentences that are so simple, but they're so profound. One of the first paragraphs says, but the sun seemed darkened and the world dim and remote.
Yeah.
Like that's so beautiful. It's melodic, it's deep, it just sets the tone. And I just love this book because maybe it's because he's not trying to be from a Hobbit's perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
His language has deepened and changed. And it's not confusing like when the elves talk.
Or
This is
Gandalf.
my favorite book. It's so good.
Gandalf is like 3 steps removed from Yoda.
Yeah.
He's like
Yeah.
old English.
Yeah.
Forsooth.
His monologues
Canterbury
are hard
Tales.
to read.
Yeah. There's whole verb tenses that are just missing from his vocabulary.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, the thing that I thought was super interesting early on in the chapter was, Frodo's gone. Aragorn is sprinting to the top. He's sort of like hesitating. He's trying to figure out what the heck he's going to do. This is a tough situation for Aragorn to be in because right before this, he had probably had just weighing on his mind this like, I am leading the fellowship now that Gandalf is gone. And I need to figure out and take time to think and listen to Frodo and like analyze the situation and like, what are we going to do and how do we get this ring to Mordor? And then now it's changed. It's not about the ring. It's about finding someone in the group who's gone. And I think that caused a little bit of turmoil in his brain. It's like if you went to the mall with your friends and one of them disappeared, the rest of the night doesn't matter anymore. You know what I mean? You're like, well, fuck, someone's missing.
Oh, you had different friends than me. We just wrote them off.
That's the difference between Jersey and Pennsylvania.
Well, that's the difference between Frodo and Pippin.
Only the strong survive.
Seriously. But I thought that was so interesting because I understand, having read the prior chapter, I understand why Frodo did what he did. I get it. But I don't think Frodo thought about what the consequences were for what he was doing and the turmoil he would place upon everybody else. Because he was trying to be like, oh, I'm going to let everybody
them.
I'm going to save them and let them be doing whatever they need to do, and I'm going to leave. And by doing that, he fractured so much of the foundation.
Well, he also
of
didn't
their
know the
plan.
orcs.
Yeah. Well, he tried for a Buckland goodbye and it didn't work.
I have to disagree with that.
You think?
I have to disagree completely. That
Actually,
he
no,
didn't
yeah,
know.
because he had Sting was glowing. He
Sting
did
was
know.
glowing,
He did
and
know.
also they're heading to Mordor.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I give him credit for being like, I didn't know orcs were going to be here. Like, well,
But also-
I don't know, you're heading into orc territory. There's going to be orcs. Probably they already had them the night before. When
Every step of the way.
Yeah. So it's like at this point, that was a deliberate choice to be selfless that had consequences that made it selfish.
I guess for me with Aragorn, he was trying so hard to be this great leader because Gandalf tasked him with that. He said, if I fall, you have to take this group. And that was a heavy pressure on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Something to take on. And so he was trying so hard to be the perfect leader that it was hard for him to make up his mind. And when Frodo leaves and makes his own course, to choose his own path, he is now freed of that burden. And can he actually just make a decision and be the ranger that he really is? And so at the very end of the chapter, it says, like a deer, he sprang away. Through the trees he sped. On and on he led them, tireless and swift, now that his mind was at last made up. He no longer has this issue where he doesn't know what to do because the path is laid before him and he knows what to do now. So it almost had to happen this way for him to be the best leader.
But in the beginning of the chapter, I got a real kick out of how emotional he got about everything that was going on, like when he found Boromir slain.
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts about
He made it all about him. He's like, I'm having such a bad day. Like, this was laid upon me, and now I don't know what to do.
You guys don't know how hard it is to be me.
Died.
So
He made it all about him.
he did though, because in a very real way, this chapter is all about Aragorn's choices.
Yeah,
right?
it's from his point of view.
is.
Well, not only that, but it's he decides the whole course of the book at this point.
Yeah.
But it's happened before, too. Almost every time the men have something happen,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, like it's personal, and they don't see anybody else's
They're
point of view.
dramatic. They are
They're
dramatic.
over dramatic,
And
over
they're
emotional.
very tall and very important and very dramatic.
Yeah, it's all about them.
But one of the interesting things about Aragorn's freedom from all this stuff is that he was essentially rationalizing what he wanted to do.
Right.
He said, Frodo has written himself off and chosen his own path. I'm now going to go help my friends and then go to Gondor like I've always wanted to do.
Right.
At the end of the day, this is not how he wanted it to be, but he's kind of getting what he wanted.
Well, he also had like massive imposter syndrome about
Yeah.
the whole thing when he says, vain was Gandalf's trust in me.
Right.
He's like,
And then he just abandons that whole fucking concept and is like,
Yeah.
I'm a hunter. I'm going to kill.
Yeah.
He's no
gonna do what
longer
I'm
the
good at.
imposter. He's just pasta.
he's
And-
just pasta.
But once again, it goes back to the
Antipasta.
fact that he was raised in Rivendell, where Elrond was just telling him the tale of Isildur and how Isildur's weakness led to this great darkness gaining power. And so Aragorn is so afraid to take up the mantle and be the king because he's so
Be another
afraid to
failed
repeat
leader.
the history of his
Yeah.
people.
Interesting. I
And
didn't
so
think about that.
I feel like every time someone tries to give him a leadership position, he's like, he's deliberating. He's like, I can't do this. He has like 15,000 thoughts. He's so terrified to become a prophecy because he's afraid
Yeah.
he's going to also fail.
Because failed leadership runs in his family.
Yeah.
But also, like, how are you going to be king of a country if you can't wrangle one dude, a dwarf, an elf, and 4 children?
But that being said, I have to say too with him, he has this exchange with Boromir when Boromir's dying, where Boromir is like, "Oh, I have failed. Please go to Minas Tirith and save my people," which is like fucked up because it's really Aragorn's people. Even in this last breath, he has to put Aragorn down, right? And then Aragorn's like, no, and takes his hand, kissing his brow. You have conquered. You have gained such a victory. Be at peace. Minas Tirith shall not fail. I call some fucking bullshit. They have been at each other's throats since day one. They're each other's antagonists. They're constant, like they're like the yin and the yang of the men. Like they do not love each other. And but in this last moment, Aragorn like falls to his knees weeping. I called bullshit.
Yeah, I basically have a note that says, "Why you lying?"
I mean, that's actually
Because
what.
he dying.
But that's something I would love to discuss. I would love to discuss that. Do you think that Aragorn was just being kind and telling him what he wanted to hear? Do you think that Aragorn said, you know what, you tried to take the ring and you failed, so you did win because you did not kill a hobbit and become evil and become the next Dark Lord or Wraith? Like, I would love to discuss this because I have so many thoughts this time reading this through.
Well, it extends beyond that actually, because it extends, and I have a note about this for the second half of the chapter, which is he continues that sort of charade
Yeah, he does.
with Gimli and Legolas,
Right.
instead of being truthful. And I actually did not like that. I really did not like that this person's so like ingrained by like truth and honor and like what it means to be good,
Right.
chose to be deceptive about the truth of another fellowship person to the rest of the fellowship.
Would it have made a difference?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just in Boromir, to the memory of Boromir, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it would have sullied everybody's memory of Boromir, but would it have made a difference moving forward? If
I think with Aragorn,
Gimli and
because
Legolas
once
had
again,
known.
he's so terrified that as a man, he can be easily corrupted. So he wants to hide from an elf and a dwarf that his fellow man was easily corrupted and was the downfall of the fellowship.
But it
He's
was
so
also the
afraid of
difference
that.
between those two.
But he feels like he is the same.
Yeah.
Even though he pretends. I think, so that was actually my whole point is, I think he falls to his knees weeping because he sees that man is so easily corrupted. Like he's pretending
So
like.
it's not Boromir's death.
No.
It's what it means.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's what
it's
I
Boromir's
took from this
fall.
versus him being so emotional that his fellow man died. It's more like, this is my fate. No matter what I do, I will succumb to the ring
Interesting.
and I will fail.
So he lets it walk away.
That's why he didn't follow it.
Yeah.
Maximum distance.
No, that's what I'm saying. This time, this
That's
read through,
awesome.
I was
Yeah.
kind of like, oh my God, like, why is he so emotional? And then I kind of like kept thinking it through and I was like, he's so emotional because once again, man has failed and he is a man and he's so terrified this is his fate.
But like,
And so
the
he
whole
lies to
time-
Boromir to lie to himself, like, no, you conquered it.
But I also feel like the whole time he's been like complete opposite of Boromir. Yeah, we talked about this in a different episode. How like they were
Each
kind
other's
of,
yin and yang.
They're equals.
yeah, they're equals, but also opposites. And so like everything that Boromir, everything the ring has done to him, it hasn't done to Aragorn.
But there's always that
Right, which is
chance.
why
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't like that Aragorn acted that way, because that is leaning away from being a polar opposite.
I think it was an act of compassion, right?
I thought it was,
because
too.
he expressed
Who
regret.
cares about compassion?
He
Who
expressed
cares about compassion?
Aragorn.
Fuck
They
compassion.
care because they took care of his burial.
This feels like we're talking about when like somebody in like 2013 has found out that like their 98-year-old granddad was involved in some fucking war crimes. And you're like, well, should we prosecute them? I don't know. They're an old. Maybe it doesn't matter. It's been a long.
No,
long-
not really. No,
It's
not.
like no, it matters. It matters, and the memory of somebody doing wrong matters. And you can't send them off into fucking Valhalla with this like great. Oh, they were so great memory of them when they weren't. And Boromir, maybe he did good, but he came across like a fucking whiny cunt the whole time.
Oh my God.
And he was challenging the leader of the group, and he was disrespecting the heir of Gondor, and he was kind of a bitch. And then he tried to take the fucking ring from Frodo. To me, you're dead. You're out. See you later. And then
mean,
we
that
have
did
our
happen.
fearless leader find him, and he goes, "You did good, kid." What? What are we talking about right now?
I mean, are you really gonna like berate somebody on their deathbed?
Yeah, go
tell them that they're an
"You
asshole."
suck," and poke him in the face.
Some of the fantasy stories I read, the people would have said, you fucked up and let them die.
Yeah,
And it's because
this is the moment that Hollywood exists for, because this is the moment when he should have dropped a last breath
A
line.
last Shakespearean rap.
Yeah, like a last, like a tagline, you know, like a Schwarzenegger, like time to freeze. You know?
yeah.
You gotta throw that line in there and then stand up and walk away. You know?
Oh my
But
God.
like, what? He's gonna like, you're a dumb cunt and no one's gonna miss you? Like, come on. Like, no.
Fuck him. He's gonna die. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
But he's also the only other like man on this journey.
So,
He may
okay.
feel some kinship
All
there.
right, so I'm not a Boromir apologist, but I do think he's a fascinating character.
Yeah.
And part of what makes him fascinating is that he falls.
He did experience some regret too.
Right. That's the thing. He recognized that he fucked up in the last moment. He still fucked up. But let's be real. Frodo was going to leave either way.
Yeah.
Aragorn is a hobo who an elf told him is actually his new king. And he's done nothing to prove he's a king. Squat. But Boromir has devoted his entire life to defending Gondor. He's had a considerable number of setbacks. He's lost a lot of people, but he and his brother and his family have spent their entire lives fighting a war that Aragorn is going to saunter into and assume command of. You
After just
have
like
to-
camping in the woods for his
Right.
whole life.
Even if this is the culmination of prophecy, even if Aragorn is supposed to do these things, the heir of Isildur, he's done fuck all to prove it to Boromir. So yeah, they have a weird dynamic. Also, Boromir's an asshole. Like, he's easy to hate.
Yeah. So I actually would love to touch base on something I said last chapter or last season. I said when Boromir falls on the stone and then like starts crying, I thought he was like gaslighting everyone. He like was hiding in the trees and was like pops out the opportune moment and acts like a victim. I did feel that last chapter, but this chapter with his confession on his deathbed to Aragorn and the way he talked about everything, I do now realize he felt true guilt. He wasn't gaslighting them. He wasn't trying to manipulate the situation. I do believe now he did actually see the wrong.
Do you want our forgiveness for you being wrong?
Not at all. Not at all.
But he also wasn't truthful with them.
No, he still
not.
was suspicious.
Neither was Aragorn.
No. I'm saying Boromir.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Neither
he
was
felt
Frodo.
guilt for what he did. He was just like, Frodo and I had an argument.
No, he was still very suspicious, and I'm still angry at the way he
He
handled
lied
that.
by omission.
He did.
He handled the whole thing poorly. But I will say now that the scene when he trips and he cries, I think it was more genuine than I read it last chapter. My opinion actually changed with how he reacted in his last moments because he was dying.
Yeah.
And in this world, when you're dead, you're dead. So he was going to say what he was going to say from his heart, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And so my opinion got changed. I will stand with that. I think Boromir was actually a little more guilt-ridden than I gave him credit for last chapter.
Yes, Boromir's whole point is to be the arc of what men can be. Right? He's courageous, he's brave, he fights wars, he does all this shit. He loses but keeps fighting. He goes on a journey to fucking God knows where to get a riddle answered for him to save his people. And then the ring corrupts him.
And then he falls.
And he falls. But in his final moments, he recognizes that. And he begs forgiveness. He begs Aragorn, go and save my people. I have failed. I have failed this fellowship.
Is that forgiveness?
He's asking for something.
Yeah, is that forgiveness?
He's
He's
owning
maybe
his...
not. I don't think he
he's-
is asking for forgiveness.
He's owning his faults and
Yeah.
asking Aragorn to go save his people, right?
Yeah. I don't
I
think
can't
that's
do
the
it
same
now.
as-
Can you do it?
The other thing,
Yeah.
the other thing about you are a conqueror, you have done what many people cannot. There's like 20 orc bodies. He killed 20 orcs by his own ass self.
Yeah.
That's very true.
If everybody in Gondor could kill 20 orcs by themselves, they might have won like all those fights that they lost. There might still be an army in Gondor.
So, in quite literally, the now, he's done what no man could do.
In
or
this
whatever.
moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then it's being truthful and not
That
really
makes more
lying.
sense when
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, I didn't
Okay.
understand this. Was he just
Yeah.
telling
We're
him what he
gonna-
wanted to hear?
Yeah, we're going to gloss over all of the flaws of everything you've done.
Yeah.
We're going to focus on today, bud. You've done good.
Yeah.
Yeah, done good. They do this, sort of farewell burial at sea thing, and they put him in the boat, and they're like, all right, we're going to leave him to the falls of Rhoros, and the sea will take his body. And they send him out, and the boat goes down. And in that moment, I was reminded that he's in a boat that's out.
We're looking at the map.
Everybody's looking at the map.
I'm looking at
We're
the
looking
line.
at that because the river's real fucking long from the falls of Rhoros to the sea. It's a journey. Maybe it's a metaphorical. The sea
Yeah.
will take him.
But I thought it was really interesting because they're pushing him over in a boat that won't sink.
Right, in like an elven boat that's
Yeah, like
made
an
to-
elven boat
Magic
that's
boat.
made that it's like the
Galadriel's
horse.
magic is like,
It's like so it's like Glorfindel's horse where like you won't fall off the horse. He's in this boat that like refuses
can't
to
sink.
and they
So
send
it just,
him.
like,
So he
magically floats
he
down
just
the
he
falls.
just like bounces off and he just kind of like continues on. And for the next 1,800 miles, he's just floating, and everyone is like, "Oh no." There's a body in a
What's
boat.
that smell?
What is that stinky body? And then everybody's
Gulls are like eating his eyeballs.
and there's like a bunch of people, and maybe they're orcs or maybe they're men or whatever, and they're like, "Oh no, that's a dead person. We should give him like we'll set the boat on fire. We'll let it burn at sea. We'll do whatever we have to." And it's just Boromir in this boat getting just raped by life as he's dead because it's just
different word.
desecrated.
no. Desecrated is not even strong enough.
Fucked.
That's so much worse than raped.
No, raped is
Just getting
worse.
fucked.
Fucked implies consent.
But he isn't having consent. But
Rape
not
is the absolute. I'm not changing it. Rape is the word. It's non-consensual
Penetration
assault.
by arrows.
Assault and penetration on his body by the elements of the world around him. You know what I mean?
I guess we'll find out.
And meanwhile, Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn are like, "Well,
We did good.
we did the right thing." Instead of just burying him, they set him off on a path of just eternal fucking.
So I had two thoughts on that. One is that when I was a kid and I read this, I always, for whatever reason, imagined that they had left all the arrows in him.
It did not specify
caught
that
on
they
the
took him
trees.
out.
well,
Right,
they
yeah.
did say they were clearly underneath his feet. The arrows
the
of his enemy.
yeah, but like in my child's brain, it was just a body in a boat looking very peaceful, spin cushioned with arrows.
Oh my god.
And then
I'm not gonna lie, I pictured that too.
right, but then my adult self was like, oh yeah, well. Why
bet
are
they
they?
took him
They
out.
don't need the waterfall or the boat or anything. They just put him in the water. He's full of holes. He will sink.
He'll fill with water.
Yeah. Well, that's what you do. Maybe no. Never mind.
Does the waterlogged corpse roll across the river?
No, I'm pretty sure you like put the feet in cement and. So they took all of this time to send his body off and give him an honorable send-off. And I feel like they took so much fucking time while the orcs were literally running away with Merry and Pippin. And I'm like, why are they putting so much significance on honoring the body and burying the body? And we kind of already talked about, did it really deserve all this honor? But I realized as I was reading through the chapter that if they hadn't sent his body off down the river and down the falls, they never would have discovered where Frodo and Sam went.
Right.
So it was actually really important that they did decide to do that, even if they wasted like,
Wait, wasn't it Merry and Pippin?
No.
No, they discovered that Sam and Frodo had taken the boat in the packs. It would have been the halflings problem, right? Did Boromir mean all the halflings or some of the halflings?
Right, but they find Merry and Pippin's knife,
They find
which
two
is
knives.
discarded. Yeah, because the orcs took Merry and Pippin.
But they wouldn't
took
have
their
had
knives
they
from the
wouldn't have
weapons
had
room.
evidence that Frodo and Sam went.
And Sam's pack was missing.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
Yeah, they could have, they would have thought that Frodo and Sam were with the orcs.
But like also funeral rites are a hugely symbolic thing. And like I thought it was really cool that Legolas suggested it because like think about it, he's an elf, so when someone dies, that's an incredibly poignant moment.
Yeah.
Because not everybody
That's
dies
true.
when you're an elf. Not everybody dies.
It's a pretty rare occurrence.
It's not as rare as it could be, but yeah.
Well.
But the point is it's not ordained for elves
They
to
don't die
die
naturally, but they die of other causes.
Yeah, you could poke an elf full of holes, it'll die. But the point is that that's
remember that.
It shows where Boromir was in the esteem of the company, regardless of what his final moments were like.
I feel like the rest of the company didn't actually like him that much until this moment.
he was kind of a dick since day one in
he-
Elrond's council. He was like, I should use the ring.
And he was
Yeah.
getting weirder and weirder. Merry
Yeah.
and Pippin did not have a good boat ride.
Yeah.
But if nothing else, it shows the compassion of Aragorn despite everything he's personally been through in his life and how he was raised. Because it doesn't seem like Elrond or elves have much compassion besides Galadriel. One last thing for me that I love about this chapter is that one of the last pages, it said the company has played its part. What I really love about that for a fantasy story, a trilogy, is that the first book starts, you think, oh, this company is going to take down this evil. And within the first book, it's disbanded. And we're realizing now over half the story is not going to be them together. It's with these individual stories, these individual POVs, taking down, hopefully, the ring and all these other enemies, but maybe not. And it's really, I think that's such an exciting way to tell a story. It kind of rips the rug underneath the reader. You think you know what the story's going to be, and it's like, it's done. And now the
yeah.
story really begins. I'm like, holy shit, let's go.
Yeah, it's like the beginning of the second book, and they're like 2 miles
It's
from
almost
Mordor.
like it's a different story.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like we were
Like,
led down a false.
The editor's like, we should just make this its own book.
It's just everyone for themselves at this point going forward.
Yeah, you have to decide your priorities and go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one line in the end that really stood out to me, which is Aragorn. He says, I would have guided Frodo to Mordor and gone with him till the end. And
I believe that.
I don't know why, but I got like emotional at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have gone with him till the end. We meet Strider before we meet Aragorn. And Strider and Aragorn has no friends. And he pledges loyalty to him. And then he's discarded and left behind.
Yeah.
And that's tough because we view him as this king to be, this ranger, this better than, this higher than, this awesome woodsman. And Frodo still says, see you later.
But also,
And without even saying goodbye. That is truly like this character that he becomes the new North Star. You are like, we're going to follow him. He says, I will protect you. I will lead you. We will get revenge. Like,
He knows everything.
and then he's left behind.
But also, that's a really cool nod to his ancestors. He's saying, like, I would have done what they could not do. I would have taken the ring to the fires of Mordor, and I would have helped it get thrown into the fire.
Right.
But he doesn't. No, he doesn't do it. But that would have been really cool. I mean,
Yeah.
he
Doesn't
do it, but it was a really nice sentiment.
he meant
Elrond
to.
is going like, I fucking knew this would happen.
It's implied that he would have.
And I
but he
believe
doesn't
him.
get
I
to.
actually
Yeah.
earnestly
Yeah.
believe him.
I would have a lot of things if I hadn't wanted to do something different.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The thing that bothers me about this is that it sets the reader up for false hope and false leadership. That this person that we can trust, who we clearly as a reader can see, this is clearly the next natural leader of the Fellowship. And then he's discarded. And knowing that early on in the book of the Fellowship of the Ring, Aragorn / Strider at the time sort of discloses that like he doesn't really have anybody in his life. He doesn't really have any friends. That like hit really fucking home to me. Like felt very emotional in that moment.
He found a purpose, and then immediately it was just like, nah,
Like
not
it
you.
was taken from him, you know?
Well, he even says Frodo did not wish to lead any friend to death with him in Mordor. So he knew he must go himself.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything because Aragorn faces death every single day.
But he knows Frodo. He knows Frodo would not want to
He's been
sacrifice
facing
anyone.
death in the woods and traveling around
It's
the
not
ranger
about
every
Aragorn.
day.
It's about Frodo.
It's about Frodo's
He was
decision.
always going to sneak away and try to go alone.
It
Because he
means
doesn't.
Frodo was trying to save him.
Yeah.
Everyone. But Sam is just too stubborn.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Sam has.
But
has-
that-
Sam was going to use his parents' drowning PTSD to make Frodo take him with him. He's like,
Yeah.
make me drown, bitch, or I'm going. And
Yeah,
Frodo's like, I
absolutely.
can't watch another person drown.
well, so the craziest thing to me about this whole thing is what did Galadriel say to them?
Right.
The fate of the ring, it hangs on a knife's edge. Stray but a little, and it will fail. But there's hope while the company remains true. Next thing that happens is Boromir goes nuts and attacks Frodo.
Yeah.
Not true.
So
False.
So we've removed hope. Now Frodo has to proceed without hope. So if he's going without hope, why would he bring anyone else with him? He wouldn't. There's no reason to. He's not dragging other people to death and then maybe complete the mission. They're all going to die in his estimation.
So before we wrap up, I have one more question. During Boromir's funeral song, Aragorn, Legolas, and not really Gimli are talking about how the winds are carrying news from different parts of Middle Earth about Boromir's passing. Like, where has he been? What happened to him? And so there's a wind coming from the north, there's a wind coming from the west, and a wind coming from the south, from the sea. And they leave out the wind coming from the east. And Gimli doesn't sing anything. And it's like, oh, we left the east wind for you, but you don't have to say anything. So the east wind is very clearly coming from Mordor. Why did they leave that for Gimli?
Because he's too busy playing with his hair collection to contribute properly. I don't know. But they do leave it for him, and he says, I will not sing of that. And they said,
Yeah.
that's probably appropriate. So
Yeah.
they really just boxed him out.
But it kind of like implied that he had knowledge of the east wind.
Well, it's really weird because they left him out. And Aragorn says a line that I feel like this was the clue for me. He says, "And Minas Tirith, they endure the east wind, but they do not ask it for tidings." And so he basically was saying, like, we sang all the winds of him, but we left that out on purpose to honor him and where he's from.
Yeah, the wind from the east is from Mordor.
It's evil.
So why would you ask it for tidings? That makes sense. Why would you ask for blessings to come from the evil land? You would just probably not acknowledge it.
And I feel like Gimli's comment of like, you left the east wind to me was kind of more sarcastic because he recognizes they know that he's not a singer.
It reminds
It's like,
me.
I'm not a singer, so all my friends that can sing are like, they do the main parts, and I'll be like, yeah, in a song. And I understand why I got that because I'm not a singer. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, just let me do the one word. It's fine.
Remember in Moria, they heard him sing the song, like during song, and probably this is them like tacitly saying like, stick
You're
to your
good.
day job.
We're
That
good.
was not great.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think the east wind would have spoken ill of Boromir or even the truth of Boromir?
It would have spoken the black tongue.
Yes, it wouldn't. It would have been bad. The enemy would have been upon them in seconds.
I think it's like very similar to when you live in like a neighborhood and you like buy a house in a neighborhood and someone's like, how do you like this neighborhood? And you're like, well, Bob and Maria are nice and Tom and Sally are cool. Oh, and Bill down there, he's nice. And everyone else, but what about the rest of the neighborhood? And you're like, what about them?
Like the feral children.
Like you just don't. You're like they suck. I'm not dealing. There's things that work and there's things that don't, and I'm not gonna waste breath on things that don't.
Yeah,
Well, I just thought it was cool that they like ascribe a personality to each of the winds of the different directions, which has that come up before? I didn't notice it if it
Kind
did.
of with the west with the elves.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like, you have all these cardinal directions, you have a lot of things going on in Middle-earth, a lot of symbolism. But moving away from symbolic things to tangible things, I would like a snack.
In honor and in memoriam of Boromir, I've prepared some horns of Gondor. Cream horns of Gondor, in fact.
Wow.
So these are puff pastry horns filled with a whipped
delicious.
cream filling.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, like, for our listeners, this is like an ice cream cone, like a waffle cone, but it's made out of a coil of puff pastry, and it's just filled with fucking whipped cream.
This is awesome looking.
And some powdered sugar on top, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
they're fucking rad.
That's lice.
We're going to make a huge mess eating these.
Can't
It's
wait.
Lice? Excuse me?
That's
She said powdered sugar on top, right? I said no, it's lice.
Oh God.
Thanks, Chris.
When I explain the joke, it's less funny.
Oh my god! So I thought I was gonna start a riot. I had to go to an emergency room as a pest control specialist, and they're like, "We got bed bugs. We brought in this homeless person, and we treated him, and there's bed bugs." And I go in there, and I'm looking around, and then I find something, and I put it in a little jar for them, and I take it to the desk, and I'm like, "Good news, guys, it's not bed bugs." And they go, "Oh, thank fucking god!" I said, "It's lice," and they fucking lost their minds.
no.
They're like, "That's not better."
That's actually worse.
Yeah, it is. Definitely.
Holy crap.
I mean, at one point, Boromir was fingering his horn, so like maybe that's why there's cream inside.
Oh my god.
Oh God. All right.
It's Monday night.
Sorry.
Season 2, y'all.
Sorry, not
All right,
sorry.
let's dive in.
All right. Let's eat these horns.
Ooh, baby. Look at these. They smell fantastico. Gotta listen to that crunch. No crying in baseball.
I love how buttery the puff pastry is. It's so good.
I didn't make it myself.
This is great.
RJ's chosen to eat it the dangerous way. I just tried to talk into my horn.
I have made a mess. This
Kind
is
of microphone shaped.
crumbling all over my body. Which is
Yes.
better than my body crumbling.
You're welcome.
Agreed.
Yes. This is delicious.
There's sugar all over my microphone.
Your microphone is the filthiest,
Why?
which is, given the amount of food that doesn't make it all the way into my mouth, is outrageous.
Very much.
That's all that. RJ, what happened?
There's like a bite and half my horn just fell on the floor.
I told you. What did I say? You're
Don't
eating
waste
it the
it.
dangerous
Don't
way.
waste it. Pick it up. Don't waste it.
No.
That's some.
It's
Second
gone.
roll.
No, there's so much old food on this floor.
Well, that's a shame. I'll eat it.
That's with Gandalf and the Balrog in the dark. I'm not picking that up.
Those are our previous chapters.
Well, that was a beautiful, beautiful introduction to season 2 to the Two Towers. Although, to be honest, there weren't any towers in this chapter, so I was kind of bummed out. But, you know, moving on. Maybe in the next chapter. Speaking of the next chapter, what's the next chapter called?
The Riders of Rohan.
Yeah.
The Riders of Rohan. All right. Rohan?
That's no.
Rohan.
Rohan!
Rawhide.
So the listeners don't know this, but I used to always say Rohan because when I read this for the first time, I was 13 years old and I was obsessed with, sadly, Lindsay Lohan and many other terrible people. from
Lohan.
the early 2000s. So when I read this, I said, "Oh, I know how to say this, Rohan, like Lindsay Lohan."
Oh.
Lohan. I
But
love
it's
it.
not that way. That's the rube way to say it. It's Rohan.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 1 of season 2. Fuck, guys, we did it.
Hey.
We're starting the next book. This is so
This is
fun.
so exciting.
The Two Towers, you got nothing. We're going to take you down in a matter of however many episodes.
Yeah,
it is.
Chris can take 2 towers.
It's actually 21 this season.
same
Last
time.
season was 22.
21.
There's 21 chapters this
All
book.
right, 21 chapters, 21 episodes. You know the deal, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to The Fool of a Took. Make sure you check us out on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Give us a little rating. If you enjoyed season 1, give us a little rating.
Little comment.
We'd appreciate it. 5 stars would be nice. If you got 4, that's good, but probably not 3 or 2 or 1.
Come on, I'm an easy 3.
Yeah, we're at least a 3.5 or a 4. If you got a lot of love in your heart, maybe a 5. That'd be great. Also, if you know somebody that might be into this podcast, give it a share. Share a clip, share an episode, whatever you got. We're just here to spread the love. We're trying to get more people to read this book. That's the whole goal of this.
Yeah.
And we're also here to have fun, to make you laugh, to make you realize how great it can be to just simply read a book and listen to our podcast.
And to
Book
swear.
club.
And to share it with your friends.
Yeah.
Fireworks.
And so all I have to say with this last horn of
Gondor.
Put it in your mouth.
Yep. You just deep throated that horn. For our Canadian listeners.
Boromir. You sucked.
Rude.
You
Rude.
tried your best, and your best wasn't enough.
Damn.
She's worse than me, dude.